In this episode, we're going to talk about the Samyang / Rokinon 12mm f2 Fuji X-mount lens. So this is the Samyang lens. It's also marketed under the Rokinon name, and I believe also the Bauer name. It's basically the same lens. It comes from the Samyang factory in Korea. This being a 12mm gives you an 18mm equivalent of full frame on a full frame camera. So it's pretty good for wide angle work, such as astrophotography or elite night sky photography. And in order to do that, you would have to probably set, I think I found around there, that usual mark is actually infinity, not infinity over here. It is a manual lens, so the aperture ring has nice click stops, and it goes from f2 to f22. And the manual focus is actually quite nice as well. It's kind of a firm feel, so it's not going to move very much once you set your focus point. By the way, when you're using this lens on a Fuji X-T2 or X-T3 or whatever, go into the menu system, go down to that wrench icon, and then look for button dial setting, and then set it to shoot without lens. That way the camera knows that you've got a fully manual lens on the body. So it won't try to set things like autofocus or auto aperture or anything like that. So let's talk about how this lens performs. In order to assess this and other lenses, I've downloaded this chart, and it can be downloaded by Googling something like Cornell University camera resolution chart, because Cornell produced this chart. And then you can fill the frame in your camera with this chart. But as you'll see in subsequent parts of this video, I've actually just used the right-hand side of the chart to assess the resolution of the lens, both at the center and up in one corner, and to look at things like vignetting as well. So again, just using the right-hand side of the chart, as we zoom into the center, you'll see that bullseye is rather crisp, and the lines, converging lines to the right of it, are not blocking it at all at f2. So it looks very good even at wide open aperture. Going up into the corner, you do see vignetting and also a general softening around the corner. It's not too dramatic, but it's there nonetheless. Going to f2.8, again at the center, not much change. It looks very much the same as at f2, and then going up into the corner, you can see that the vignetting is backing off just a little bit, and the lines, the converging lines, are sharpening up just a little bit. And then going out to f4, there's a dramatic improvement. Everything sharpens up right into the corner, and the vignetting is virtually gone. So I thought it would be interesting to compare the Samyang 12mm f2 with a similar wide-angle lens. As I said earlier, the Samyang has an equivalency in full frame of about 18mm. So I thought I'd compare it with a Tokina 17-35, which I have on a Canon 6D, which is a full-frame camera. And as you can see from the chart comparison shot at the center of the chart, the Samyang actually looks sharper than the Tokina. The Tokina looks a little soft, especially if you look up at the converging lines in the top right-hand corner. And then going up into the corner of the chart with, again, the same two lenses, you can see that the Tokina actually maintains sharpness where the Samyang doesn't as you get closer and closer to the corner. But the the blurring in the extreme corner is worse on the Tokina. So in other words, it's, for the most of its field, it's pretty consistent until you get right into the corners, whereas the Samyang tends to vary a bit from center as you get progressively out toward the corners. And both exhibit the same vignetting at maximum aperture. In this case, the Tokina is an f4 and the Samyang's an f2. Another observation is that when you shoot the resolution chart on the Tokina 17-35, you notice there's a lot of barrel distortion of the chart itself. Compare that with the Samyang, which seems to be a lot more linear. The lines around the edge of the chart are much straighter. So if you don't mind adjusting focus and aperture manually, from a performance for price standpoint, the Samyang 12mm f2 lens represents a really great bargain for Fuji X mount users. And that's it for this episode. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.